The Russian invasion of Ukraine became the catalyst for the greatest geopolitical transformation in Europe since the Cold War. However, the most dramatic metamorphosis was not NATO's consolidation or the activation of Eastern European states. The most unexpected turn was Germany's military awakening, a country that in 2019 the Spectator called a complete joke in the context of European defense. This transformation carries all the marks of geopolitical irony. Putin's aggressive actions, aimed at weakening the West, instead provoked the awakening of Europe's strongest economy, one that had adhered for decades to a doctrine of military restraint. Today, Germany is rapidly becoming what the Kremlin feared most, the leader of European defense with the largest conventional army on the continent. By February 2022, the German Bundeswehr was a textbook example of systemic degradation caused by decades of underfunding and political pacifism. The numbers were merciless. Only 30% of naval helicopters were operational as of November 2022. Just one-third of fighter jets were serviceable. More than half of the Marder infantry fighting vehicles were non-functional, and out of 6 submarines, only 3 were in working order. The historical roots of this weakness lay in the post-war restrictions following World War II. The final settlement treaty concerning Germany established a strict limit of 370,000 service members, with no more than 345,000 allowed to serve in the Army and Air Force. The country was forbidden from developing nuclear weapons, despite having all the technological capabilities to do so. Europe welcomed such restrictions, at least until Russian tanks began rolling toward Kiev. Yet the main problem was not formal limitations, but cultural inertia. After 1990, Germany chose the path of economic globalization and political pacifism, gradually turning its armed forces into a symbolic structure. As Defense Connect noted in 2023, post-Cold War military modernization was extremely sluggish, leading to major procurement delays, technical failures, and overspending. Former Bundeswehr Inspector General Eberhard Zorn aptly described the situation. Germany looked strong on paper but was a classic paper tiger. And Putin, reading reports about all 53 Tiger helicopters being grounded due to technical issues, surely took pleasure. One of his potential European adversaries posed virtually no threat. On February 27, 2022, 3 days after the full-scale invasion began, Chancellor Olaf Scholz delivered a speech that went down in history as the Zeitenwende, turning point. It was not just another political declaration, it was a moment of national realization that decades of living in a false sense of security were over. Scholz announced the creation of a special €100 billion defense fund and a commitment to reach 2% of GDP in defense spending. For a country that had been spending only 1.4% of GDP on its military, this was a revolutionary step. But the true revolution lay not in the numbers. It lay in the change of national consciousness. The results soon followed. In 2024, Germany spent $88.5 billion on defense, 2.12% of GDP, fulfilling NATO's target for the first time in 33 years. This automatically made the country the 4th largest defense spender in the world, after the US, China, and Russia. Spending had risen by 89% compared to 2015. Germany had nearly doubled its defense budget within a decade. But the real breakthrough came in 2025, when new Chancellor Friedrich Merz pushed a historic decision through the Bundestag, the suspension of the debt brake for defense spending. Previously, any military expenditure above 0.35% of GDP had to be covered solely from the national budget without borrowing. The threshold has now been raised to 1% of GDP, and anything above that level is exempted from borrowing limits. Merz did not hide the geopolitical subtext. The decision we make today is nothing less than the first big step toward creating a new European defense community. It was an acknowledgement that Germany was assuming the role of guarantor of European security, a role it had avoided since 1945. The scale of the financial mobilization is striking even by European historical standards. The special €100 billion fund was only the beginning. In April 2025, Germany activated an EU emergency provision allowing expenditure to be increased by up to 1.5% of GDP per year for 4 years without breaching EU fiscal rules. An infrastructure fund of $547 billion has been directed to strengthening the military and developing defense infrastructure. Chancellor Merz has already agreed to a $1.13 trillion package for defense and infrastructure using the emergency mechanism. Projections indicate that by 2029, Germany will reach 3.5% of GDP on defense, a figure that would amount to 152 to 162 billion euros annually. That would make Germany Europe's largest military investor and potentially the third largest in the world after the US and China, surpassing Russia. The allocation of funds reveals strategic priorities. 41% of the special fund is earmarked for the Air Force, 40,900 million euros, 19% for the Navy, 19% billion, and 17% for the Army, 16 billion euros. By May 2025, 28 billion euros had already been spent, and in 2024, a record 97 major procurement projects were approved versus 55 in 2023. Modernization covers all branches and aims to create a force capable of countering contemporary threats. Key procurements include Air Force, 35 F-35A Lightning II stealth fighters for 8.4 to 10 billion euros, with deliveries beginning in 2026 and full operational capability by 2030. These jets will replace aging Tornado aircraft and participate in NATO's nuclear deterrence mission. Germany also ordered 60 CH-47F Chinook heavy transport helicopters for 7 billion euros, deliveries 2027 to 2032, to replace CH-53s that have served since the 1970s. Germany ordered 123 plus Leopard 2A8 tanks for over 3.5 billion euros. The initial order of 18 tanks for 525 million euros is meant to replace those sent to Ukraine. An additional 105 tanks for 2.93 billion euros will arrive between 2025 and 2030 and will be fitted with the latest Trophy active protection systems. These are among the most powerful main battle tanks in the world. Air and missile defense. 500 Patriot PAC-3 missiles for 3.01 billion euros, acquisition of the Israeli Arrow 3 ballistic missile defense system, and mass production of 155mm artillery shells. Navy. 4 next-generation U-212CD submarines, 2 additional F-126 frigates, and fleet modernization for operations in the Baltic and North Seas. Massive investments in reconnaissance satellites, radio and radar jamming systems, artificial intelligence for autonomous drones and robotic systems. This signals an ambition not merely to increase headcount, but to build a high-tech army of the future. Defense Minister Boris Pistorius, appointed on January 19, 2023, and retained by the new Chancellor Merz, became the driving force behind this transformation. He reduced the arms procurement period from 1 year to 4 months and became Germany's most popular politician. His warning that Russia could attack NATO within 5 to 8 years defines the urgency of modernization. Germany's support for Ukraine, in turn, is not merely a gesture of solidarity, but a strategic investment in European security. As of April 2025, Germany had provided roughly 28 billion euros in military aid, making it the second largest donor after the United States. The human factor remains more challenging. Germany has 180,000 active personnel and plans to increase that number to 203,000 by 2031. This expansion will allow the creation of a permanent deployment in Lithuania, NATO's front line in the event of further Russian aggression. The average German soldier earns $3,190 per month, $38,280 annually, compared to the national average of $58,800 per year, a clear motivation gap. Hiring an additional 20,000 troops would cost about $765 million annually, not counting pay raises for current service members. The government plans to raise salaries and revamp the image of military service. In November 2024, new measures were introduced: the right to collect data on citizens of conscription age and the creation of a voluntary military service lasting from 6 to 23 months. The first step has been taken. All 18-year-olds are now sent questionnaires asking about their willingness to serve in the Bundeswehr. The ultimate goal is a reserve force of 200,000, 140,000 more than today. Together with 20,000 new contract soldiers, this would give Germany a potential wartime force of around 400,000 personnel. Another crucial step has been Germany's active role in strengthening NATO's eastern flank. The Federal Republic leads the Enhanced Forward Presence battle group in Lithuania. By 2024, around 1,500 German soldiers were deployed there on a rotational basis as part of a multinational defense force. In autumn 2023, Berlin decided to transition to permanent deployment. In March 2025, Germany signed an agreement with Lithuania to station 2 tank battalions, forming a new brigade of roughly 4,000 troops. On April 1, 2025, a ceremonial parade took place in Vilnius to officially establish the 45th Armored Brigade, comprising nearly 4,800 soldiers. According to its command, its mission is to ensure the protection of our Lithuanian allies on NATO's eastern flank. This marks Germany's first permanent foreign troop deployment since World War II. The brigade is gradually reaching full operational capability, expected by 2027, while the previous rotational contingent remains in place at a minimal level. Furthermore, Germany has significantly expanded joint exercises and surveillance operations with regional partners. German forces regularly participate in multinational maneuvers across the Baltic states, focused on joint border defense. Analysts note that Germany's decisive actions in Lithuania, combined with the growing defense capabilities of its allies, have made any potential Russian aggression in the Baltic region far more difficult. Berlin's leadership role in Lithuania, where Germany is the key partner, provides a foundation for confidence in the collective defense of the entire region. In parallel with its military revival, Germany has carried out the fastest energy transformation in modern history. Before the war, the country relied on Russia for 55% of its natural gas, 35% of its oil, and 45% of its coal. On February 22, 2022, Scholz halted the certification of Nord Stream 2, the $11 billion pipeline that never went into operation. The pace of disentanglement was remarkable. May 2022, 35% gas dependency, June 26%. By September 2022, 0% pipeline gas. August 2023, 0% oil. August 2024, 0% gas overall. Complete energy independence in just 18 months, a historically unprecedented achievement. In 2024, the German frigate Hessen took part in a combat mission in the Red Sea, becoming the first German warship in the history of the Federal Republic to open fire in active combat. Such events may seem minor, but they are key components of Germany's broader military buildup as it prepares for a potential confrontation with Russia. All of this has taken place alongside Germany's continuous support for Ukraine. In late April, Chancellor Friedrich Merz appointed Johann Wadephul, a former banker and politician known for his pro-Ukrainian stance, as the new foreign minister. It was another clear signal to the Kremlin. Wadephul consistently advocates for increasing aid to Ukraine and believes that Putin still thinks in terms of territorial expansion. In an interview with FAZ, he stated, "This war is not about a few square kilometers of Ukrainian land. It is about a fundamental question, whether we will allow a classical war of conquest in Europe." Cynically, one might note that the last European state to wage such a war of conquest was Germany itself. Yet this very historical awareness now seems to be the driving force behind its modern military revival. Today, Berlin recognizes the same signs of aggressive expansionism that it once exhibited in the 1940s, and is determined not to let history repeat itself, this time standing on the side of freedom and Europe's defense. In the end, this means only one thing. Putin now faces a new Germany, a nation rapidly transforming from Europe's laughingstock into one of the continent's main hopes for deterring Russian aggression. Modern Germany is no longer the Germany of 2022. It has shed its restraints, freed itself from the politics of pacifism, and is firmly determined to once again become a formidable military power.